because not many people can come to terms with you're a small fish in a big sea when you come to America. And you always want to look back on what you used to have. And I really do appreciate that our parents never once mentioned what they used to have, and they just restarted a life, and now we worked our way up to this. Hello everyone, welcome to our channel called The Singh Hustle. We are very well known for being on a team called Property Siblings, but we each have our own identity. So I'm Shyan, I'm from Guyana, and you?
I'm Adrian Singh. This is my sister. Like she said, you guys probably know us as the Property Siblings, but there's a lot more to us. If anyone is interested, there's a lot more to us than, we can give information, share, mentor, whatever the case may be. We're hoping this podcast can help you guys, and it is real estate focused, but you might pick up some extra tips and bits along the way.
I would consider you to be a jack of all trades. So how do you think that you can help someone, a younger version of you? What advice do you have for someone looking at this podcast?
I think probably a lot of young people's biggest problem is coming out of high school. What do we want to do after high school? It's usually a trade or college, for most people. And then there's the small percentage of military people, they'll go into the military after high school. I was looking to do all three. So I was in the ROTC program all through high school. I wanted to be a Force Recon Marine really, really badly. Very, very close to signing up. I did all the extracurriculars, like the Marine Raider program, did that all through high school. But yeah, I had second thoughts, and what is college like, and what is that life would be like if you went to college, got a good job, and make good money and stuff like that. And then, as you know, I've loved cars since forever. So I also
Really? I didn't know that.
I also wanted to go to tech school, and I didn't know if I should go to college or go to trade school. So I thought doing engineering would be the best option for me, which it was. But I think there's a lot of options that kids have, especially nowadays, and it doesn't really have to be school. Depending on what you want to do, there's different routes. So if someone wants to do something hands-on, I would just go to trade school. You don't really need college. College, and something else that nobody talks about in college is the jobs, they're not really hands-on. They're more office-based. This is questions I wish people would have asked me when I was in high school, because it probably would have helped me figure out what I wanted to do better.
If I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have gone to biomed.
Why? Why though?
Well, I always wanted to be a doctor, but I would have probably done health sciences. To be more competitive, I would have excelled more in that, and I would have had more time to do other things. Biomed's very time consuming. It's revolved around chemistry, which isn't really my strong suit. And it's more geared towards, well, like I said, chemistry, and it's not really the study of medicine. It's more the chemistry behind the medicine. And it's not something that I would have chosen again. But in addition to that, there's a lot of jobs out there that I didn't even know existed. Coming from high school, your main focus is to just get into college, and nobody ever talks about what jobs are out there other than being a doctor, an engineer, working in the FBI, the major career choices.
So I have a lot of friends that already have a degree, and they're in school again for another degree. And their first degree...
They can't even get a job, right?
And their first degree is not a liberal arts major or something. It's biomed.
Yeah.
And they can't get a job with it, or it doesn't pay enough that was worth their time.
Yeah.
Or it's, the jobs that they require, it's a lot of hours a week, 45, 60 hours a week, and they're still back in school. And it's even though my friends are very successful with school, they're in the IB program just like you, stuff like that, it didn't really help them. And it's because people don't really ask the right questions, I feel like.
Yeah.
Even in high school, I think they just push a lot, you should go to college.
Yeah.
And that's the only way to be successful. Go to college, get a job, work your 9 to 5 for the
I
next.
think college is a scam.
Yeah, it could
It
be.
is.
And I mean, it's probably vice versa. There's probably people that went to trade school and, they probably got a job and they probably hate that job and they probably wish like, oh man, I wish I probably would have went to college.
Yeah.
And then there's people that are probably in college and probably have that trade job and they're probably, man, I wish the military was better. So it's like, depending who you talk to, people are always going to say one thing is better. But reality is there's a lot of good options for people. And it just comes down to like having a good mentor or something that could really help people to pick a right career choice for them.
Well, hopefully that's what this podcast will be for a lot of people. We just want to be mentors. We're in different fields. We're in real estate. I'm in medicine. Adrian is in engineering. Aside from that, he has strong passions in cars, building cars, performance cars, and all of that. So you can help people that
I know
have
you're
that
very,
same
very good at
aspiration.
makeup.
Yes. I don't like to consider myself an influencer, but I'm almost there.
I mean, didn't like Kylie Cosmetics and stuff like follow you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. There you go.
Oh, stop it. But I've been working with brands, and I'm really happy about that. I'm finally getting to where I wanted to be social media-wise. So when I'm famous, you could be right there with me.
Yeah, and the podcast, it's another neat thing is about the podcast, you can get to know us without maybe directly talking to us. It's impossible to know everyone in the world, right? But you can still know things about us that you may be curious about.
We'll be your long-distance
Yes,
friend.
yeah, I got stuck there. I got stuck.
I'm the cooler sibling, so anything you guys need, you can always reach out to us on social media, and we will always be there to respond and interact with our viewers. We moved from South America from an early age.
Okay.
I kind of I remember the night that we moved. I was like crying.
Yeah,
and
I do too. Which of them?
Yeah. So if we weren't living in America, what would you be doing right now with your life?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Could be dead in Guyana. You never know.
That's true,
But
actually.
it's like there's a lot of stuff like in the Caribbean islands. There's a lot of crime, but I mean, you never know. Like
I would have been a housewife, I think.
one thing I don't do is you hear a lot of the times. It happens a lot. Like I'm a big fan of the NBA, so like one thing you'll see a lot of the times is they'll say, "Oh, the athlete that grew up poor is the better athlete. It's because he'll want it more." And it's really not true. I don't remember the exact NBA player. I think it was like Bill Laimbeer. I think his name was. I could be wrong. But he grew up just minutes away from another famous player, Isaiah Thomas. It was just miles away. But like Isaiah Thomas was very, very poor growing up, very, very poor. And he still made it to the NBA. While the other guy, I think his dad was in the NBA. So his dad was rich. But, think about all the distractions he must have had. It's one thing when you don't have anything growing up, you have to do better. But when you have everything growing up, then you have to be dedicated on your own to stay focused and want even more. And sometimes I think that could be a lot harder. So that's why one thing I don't do, I don't look at anyone, whether they have money or even kids that, were born rich. I still don't judge them because you don't really know what their situation are. They might have money, but they might have really bad parents. I've seen that many, many times. Or, I've seen vice versa. Or, they might have money, but they might missing, health might not be there. And they deal with different things behind the money. So it's, I don't.
We got really lucky with our upbringing. I feel like mom and dad are amazing parents. And even the story of our parents, dad was one of the wealthiest rice farmers. So he came from money. And mom grew up in a different family who also was very, very wealthy. So it's very humbling to see mom and dad come from like such a high level of wealth, and they left it all behind just so we can have a life over here. Yep. He didn't have to move. Both of them had their family, they had their business, but they came because of the crime in Guyana. and they came for opportunities for us. So it's very humbling to know that we have parents like that, because I have some friends that similarly to us, like, their dad or their mom left India, but with that, like, certain mindset of North Indians, a lot of them, they like to, like, hold grudges about what they had. Not even, like, Indians, but just other ethnic minorities as well. They tend to have certain grudges about, I guess it's like, what I'm trying to say is not many people can come to terms with you're a small fish in a big sea when you come to America. And you always want to look back on what you used to have. And I really do appreciate that our parents never once mentioned what they used to have, and they just restarted a life, and now we worked our way up to this.
Yeah, a lot of people, they're just tend to be entitled to the way
Yeah,
things
there's always a lot of
used to be,
entitlement.
yeah, that's what it is. Like, I've never had a 9 to 5 job ever, because I got my license when I was 18, so I never had a normal
Did
job.
you choose real estate?
Yeah, kind of, because mom used to work with Baldwin.
But you were fine with being a realtor?
Yeah, I was fine with being a realtor. I used to look at a lot of like real estate shows back then. I used to read a lot of books.
Yeah,
One
I
of my
remember.
favorite realtors was Josh Altman. I read all his books, watch all the shows. Like, I would calculate all the commission on like all his listings, and I was like, wow, like, this is not fake. Like, you really could make $100,000 in commission.
But when you did real estate, I don't even think there was anyone relatively in your age doing real estate at your time. So, like, did you ever have any fears about failing?
No, because I guess mom knew a lot about real estate. And I mean, I'm not worried about failing anyways. I was wanting to go to special forces.
Really?
Most of the times you're probably going to fail there. But you can't be a sugar cookie. You got to get back up.
I'm a sugar cookie.
And
I was
one of the
afraid
things
failing.
someone had told me that the biggest thing, like what a lot of people can't come to grips with, is failing. They'll like, one story my friend told me, because he's a devil dog himself, but he told me that during basic training, like, it'll be something simple, like, take this cup and go put some ice in it, fill it up to here and bring it back. And you'll do it perfectly. And then they'll look at you and they'll smack the cup out your hand and they'll scream at you and tell you you messed it up. But you didn't. You did it exactly the way they said to. But they're trying to tell you that, get into your head. They want to see if you can move on from the fact that you know you're right and you know they're wrong, but it doesn't matter. You'll just move on from the fact and just do the next task. And there's a lot of people that just can't come to the grips of failing is okay. It's okay to fail, just keep going.
I'm not going to lie, I always feared failing in real estate, so I never wanted to be a realtor, and you know that. But now
You're just shy, that's why.
No, like, when I started real estate, or you were top producer, so I feel like we're very different in personalities. And you even said, like, you wanted it, you studied real estate. I didn't do anything of that sort. I just took my class, and I did it because I was forced to. But I mean, I fell in love with real estate in the end. Like, now there's nothing else that I could imagine doing. But when I first started, I really feared failing and just looking as like the sibling that couldn't step into your shoes. You were a top producer, and I haven't sold anything in my life. So I was just like, why would someone ever want to sell a house with me when they have you? And then I realized, like, through real estate, a lot of people, I gravitate towards them, and you gravitate towards a certain clientele. And we both found our personalities and our identities in business. And now it's like one of my passions.
Yeah, I love real estate.
I love real estate now.
I always said years ago I didn't want to be a realtor.
Yeah.
I just couldn't wait to graduate and just go like do an engineering job. But as I went through college, and I've been in college a little bit, I've met a lot of people, a lot of cool people, a lot of smart people. Like, I have friends that are working at NASA, working a lot of important government jobs, Pratt and Whitney. But they work a lot. They work like 60, 65 hours a week. If we came into real estate and worked 65 hours every week, treated it like a 9 to 5, and like you worked like literally like a corporate, you treat it that way, you'd make hundreds of thousands of dollars every year.
Yeah.
And I know that. And that's a guarantee about real estate.
That's the
But
beauty
it's
of
just being
this.
disciplined enough to actually do that, and it's very hard. That's
Yeah.
that's
You have
that's
to
the
want
one,
it
that's
really
the one thing
badly.
about real estate. You have to want it. You have to. And then on top of that, competition's very stiff. So if you don't want it, somebody else wants it, and they'll get it.
Yeah, real estate's pretty cutthroat. But I believe if you just stick to your morals and you're yourself, you will attract the certain clients that you want.
Yep.
And that's how it's been with us. We're so blessed, like with all of our clients. I think it's pretty much a flex that we've never once had to do a realtor commission agreement form.
Yeah.
Not once. We just like know our clients. They trust us. We have that relationship, and every single one of our clients has been our friends through past that
Yeah,
transaction.
or a majority of them. But I guess the hardest transaction I'd have to deal with it was a few years ago. We sold a home to some, they were from New York. They were a little younger client, but they came here and, they lived here in the home. The home purchase went smooth. We actually sold them the home. And then they contacted us a few months later, 8, 9 months later, saying they wanted to sell the home. Florida's one of the worst places they've ever lived. They hate it here, and they want to go back.
I know what you're talking about.
And they want to go back to New York. That should have been the first red flag, because everyone's entitled to like certain places and hate certain places, of course. But I don't think Florida, or where we're located here in Central Florida, is that bad that people think it's like one of the worst spots you could be at in the country. And I should have known that something was up there. So I told them, sure, we'll list the home. Like I said, though, I was the realtor that sold them that home in the first place from the builder. So we listed the home, put it up for sale. Everything started out okay. We've always gotten along with these people. And just for whatever reason, as the process was going through, we got the home in contract within, I think it was like less than 3 weeks. They went into contract, and
You got over asking too.
yeah, it was over asking, and it was one of these deals that commission turned it sour. Then commission split was 5%. We usually don't do anything less than 6%.
They were like getting 100K over asking, and there was like no reason at all to like be like, hey guys, now we want to like cut back your commission on.
It was a lot over asking. We sold this home when the house prices were like at the craziest. At like peak market price here, this is when the house went into contract. It was a lot over. I don't think it was 100 over asking, but it was.
No, not 100 over asking, 100 from what they paid, sorry.
Yeah.
And it was 5K over asking. But I remember like these certain clients, they're being pretty greedy and just selfish with the buyers
Yeah,
as well.
because
like,
after we signed the contract, they were like, oh yeah, since this home got into contract so fast, there wasn't a lot of work in marketing. We think you should cut your commission.
yeah.
And I honestly, I probably could have done it. It's just that I didn't think it was fair. We already negotiated the commission. I already did all the work to even get the deal into contract. I negotiated with the realtor and their actual sellers, or their buyers as well. I had spoken to the buyers. We negotiated the price over asking, all the terms. And then at the end, they were like, well, we think it got into contract too fast. You should cut your commission.
And then they wanted the buyers to pay for their mortgage. And I'm like, they're just being
it
like.
started
very-
with, they wanted me to cut commission, and I didn't want to because, like I said, it was already at 5% in the first place. So it was already cut to begin with. And then from that, after I said, no, we negotiated this is what's signed, then they started getting really difficult. And they were just trying to force the process to not go through. And then, so where it really went sour, so, initially when you sign a contract, I think it's changed now, but we typically put on the closing date, we'd put an expected date of closing, and sometimes we put or before. The closing was set like 4 or 5 weeks out, very reasonable time for an FHA loan to be closed. But the buyers couldn't close exactly on that Friday. It got extended to the Wednesday, and they tried to use that as a loophole they just weren't being understanding. Most of the times, a seller would just submit an extension, boom, we're going to close on the Wednesday. They were, no, we're going to keep their deposit. They forfeited the contract. They didn't close on the date that they said they were going to close on. Just being really difficult about it. And then they're like, the only way we'll continue with this and sign the extension is if they or you pay for our mortgage. And so it just turned into pure money grab. And it got to the point where I told them, like, I don't care for the sale. I don't want it to close. You can figure this out on your own. And I mean, the other guys, the buyers had such a sour taste in their mouth. They wanted to pull out from the deal anyways. So nothing happened with the deal. Matter of fact, that house actually didn't sell for the price that they want. It just so happens to, when we were in contract, we went in at the peak price. This was literally where
The market changed.
the market changed in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And prices came down a lot. And that house sold, I think it was months later, but it sold for so much less than what they were originally going to get. It was such a big regret
Yeah.
on their part.
It was just the way that she spoke to us. That's one thing that I will never ever tolerate. We're not greedy by no means. We
we're
sold
very,
homes for free.
I've sold
Yeah.
homes to people with all kinds of budgets.
Yeah.
$1 million budgets that are $100,000, and they've all gotten treated 100% exactly the same. I'm not going to be different to anyone because of their personal budget.
Yeah.
And, when people start doing that back to us, I'm just not going to work with them. No commission is worth being insulted like that.
Yeah. I value the respect I have, and I want to be treated a certain way. So we're fortunate enough to be in business where we can walk away from a deal because we don't really need that deal. So that was just one of those instances where we just decided to walk away.
And this is another thing too, just a little tip. If you guys as a homeowner, you're looking to list your home and you have 10 realtors, asked to list the home. And one thing you shouldn't be doing to protect yourself as a seller, don't automatically go with the realtor with the lowest commission. If you think about it, if that realtor doesn't have the self-worth to know, hey, man, I earn 3% because this is what I'm going to do for your listing. I'm going to market it this way. I'm going to spend X amount of dollars. I'm going to get this much foot traffic. A realtor who's just hungry for the sale, just to get the listing in hopes if someone's going to buy it, he's going to get paid, they'll take any commission. They'll take 2%, 1.5%, 2.5%. They'll take anything. But if you have a realtor that's coming to you and, they have a whole list of everything they're going to do for you, and they're telling you, this is what it is. Most of the times, going with that realtor, saving a few bucks is going to cost you way more in the long run. Just a tip, don't always just go with the realtor willing to do the lowest commission. But we usually don't have too many difficult closings at all, though. Most closings go about how closings go.
Yeah. Okay, so if you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
In terms of stuff I couldn't change, when I was born, or the way I went about my career.
The first one.
Okay. I probably wished I was 3 inches taller. I'd be able to dunk.
Okay, I was not expecting that.
I wish I didn't wear glasses because then I could have 20/20 vision without doing LASIK.
You were stabbed in the eye, right?
Yeah, I was stabbed in the eye when I was younger. I guess I could tell you guys about that. So when I was in Guyana, I was in martial arts. It was my cousin. He's actually an engineer. He actually graduated already as well too. But we were very, very close growing up. But we fought a lot. We fought each other. We fought everybody else. And it got so bad that the only way to stop us from fighting and with other people, was to go into mixed martial arts. So our parents had put us in mixed martial arts and stuff. But it was maybe a year or two after I got into martial arts. But I got into a fight with this kid. And I always remember him because his name was Nikolai. He was Russian. He was there's not too many white people in Guyana, and he was one of them. And it was
Can't say white people, you guys say Caucasians.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. People get offended so easily now. But yeah, so he was this Russian kid, and he had a little bit of an anger problem. I guess I did too, but we got to fighting. And I remember he reached for the closest thing he can find and he grabbed this yellow pencil off the desk. And he literally goes for the middle of my eye. And I had like blocked most of it. But the pencil, instead of going like in the middle, it really goes into my right eye, right into the tear gland and up and under right here, all the way out. Because I like dragged his hand out and it literally went in and up and out. And I remember one of our other cousins, so we were fighting in the classroom. It was just me and him, and people heard the commotion. And I remember my cousin it was Ariane actually. And she comes around the corner and I could still remember the look on her face, her and Mariah's face. It was like, because I could feel all the blood. I'm like drinking it. It's just so much blood that comes out of your eye. And I was a kid when this happened. I was like 8 years old or 7 years old. And I remember she almost fainted when she saw me. And I went to the nurse. The teacher took me to the nurse, stopped the bleeding. But like all this was just hanging. And I remember they took me, and I remember going to the doctor, and I remember getting put under, and then I remember seeing Mom. And that's about it. I don't think I would change anything.
No, like, characteristic traits.
Nothing. I love the way I am.
We
Not
love
really.
that.
I really mean that. Because I'm not...
No, I agree.
No one's perfect, but if I had to have people in my life, like, I think the people that I get along great in my life, you just can't be envious of people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it comes down to. There's just a handful of people in the world that could truly be happy for somebody else. Kind of like Kyle, like, just Kyle for an example. I have a lot of friends, but Kyle just comes to mind. Like, how he always has he always has like the nice cars and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, before he gets a car, he'll always send it to me. Like, he'll talk about it, and it's because he knows, like, I'll actually be happy for him. Like, I actually want him to get this fancy car. And
it's crazy. Like,
and
there's not
that's
a lot of
just
people like
it's
that.
just an example. But like the type of people that I want in my life, even if it's less than 10 people, as long as they're not envious and they can be happy and support you, that's all you really need. Nobody's gonna be perfect. Everybody's gonna have weird passions and perspectives and views. But as long as you're not envious or like a liar or a thief,
I kind of
you'll be
think
okay in life.
you kind of have to have the mindset sometimes that no one's happy for you. It'll just prevent you from being hurt or screwed over in the end. Just realistically, as you get to the top, you will lose friends. There's a reason why they say it's lonely at the top. Not everyone's going to be happy for you. Everyone will see you, as competition. But to piggyback off of what I asked you, I am very proud of you. You're actually one of my role models in life. We used to fight so much. Like, we would physically fight each other. I don't know, like, is that normal, by the way? Because I was telling someone that, and they were like, oh my gosh. So, yeah, like, you and I, like, we would throw things at each other. Like, the first thing that I saw, I'd throw at him, and we'd, like, physically fight each other. We couldn't even be in a car without, like, our parents screaming at us for fighting. If he looked over my window, it would drive me insane. So, like, and then he's, like, the type of person to be like, I'm not touching you. And, like, it would just make me so mad. So we fought a lot when we were little, but I think, like, as we grew older, I don't know why, but I just became your best friend.
Because you're just like me.
Yeah, we're very similar.
People even say she looks like me. It's the funniest thing ever.
Yeah, I get so offended because I'm like, do I look like a man with makeup?
If you had to change something about you, what would you change?
I always tried working on not being shy. I feel like I missed out on making really good friends. So even like when I came to the G World, I think it was like their fashion show event, you weren't able to come that night. So I went alone, and I literally stood in a corner that entire night. And it was just so hard for me to like make friends. But then I ended up making friends towards the end of the night, so I'm proud of myself.
I guess that's one thing I'll change about myself too. I'm probably a little too shy. I'm just an introvert.
What are you talking about? You make friends everywhere we go. You came to my high school ceremonies, and you were talking to more people than I did.
That's because I know them from the gym and
No, you
car
always have
meets.
like friends.
Um, do you remember when we moved there?
Yeah,
Because you're a little younger.
I was like 4 or 5, but
Do you remember anything?
um I don't really remember much about Guyana, but I do remember vividly everything from over here. Um I know like when we moved it was the market crash or just right before that. So I remember going from a condo to somewhere or no, it was apartment. We didn't even live in a condo actually. It was like two different apartments and then we finally moved up to Central Florida area and that was right before the market crash. So I remember like kind of going through that experience that mom and dad went through and I never really knew much because they tried to hide it from me. Um and that was pretty much like what I could remember besides being in school. I never got into fights. I was like the A student, goody
That's
two shoes,
that's a funny
teacher's
point you
pet.
make. When mom didn't try to hide nothing from me growing up, I always knew everything that was going on.
So you were young and you knew that we
Yeah,
were
because
like,
mom would always tell me everything.
wow, it's because you're the favorite kid. I always say that.
So like I remember when we came here, like moving to any new country, it's gonna be hard. You're starting new, you're starting broke. Well, for most people, anyways.
But dad was actually like, he was killing it.
Well, my dad's always had a trucking business, and my dad's always been a six-figure earner. And my dad didn't even go to like middle school because he dropped out. Him and his brothers dropped out to go work for their parents. And he's always, since we came here, my dad's always been a six-figure earner, and that's big inspiration. Why would I go work for a company 9 to 5 and 60 hours a week to not earn six figures or something close to that?
Yeah.
So I've always thought about that growing up. Business is always like the way to go. That I always
That's
thought.
true. He always worked for himself.
I always thought that business was the way to go for us.
You and dad make my standards in men very high.
Thanks. What are you gonna do once you graduate college? Because you're graduating soon. You're graduating what, in next semester?
Fall, hopefully.
Yes, next semester.
Yeah, but I didn't get into my classes.
But you're graduating soon, so it's a semester or two.
Yeah.
Then. What are you gonna do when you graduate?
Going to pursue real estate more than I do right now. It's very challenging trying to do school in real estate. At least being like trying to get to like top producer level in real estate and managing like rigorous courses is extremely challenging. And I feel like no one ever prepares you for that because even with my class, if they straight up tell you if you're not studying 10 hours a day, you're failing automatically. And it makes it like harder because it's like I feel like no one can relate, especially with my peers. It's very rare that I find someone working in biomed while doing biomed courses. A lot of the times they're not working at all. And if they are, it's like, one of those shifts to get into medical school that's like 5 hours. So after I'm done with that, I was thinking about going to PA school for fun or applying to medical school for fun. And if I get in with a good scholarship, I'm going to do it. So either that or I'm going to focus on real estate entirely. I'll start coming to the office every day. We only show up here for events. So
because like I remember when Jeremy had told us that they moved over to be closer to the office.
yeah.
And that was years ago. The traffic now is 3 to 4 times
Yeah, it's so
worse.
much.
Just to come to the office in the morning, the reason we don't bring clients anymore in the morning is it'll take an hour to get here, an hour to get back with the traffic. And we're probably going to be, a 15, 20-minute, conversation or meeting. It's just easier to meet people over by the communities and Starbucks or Panera or something.
I do have a question. Do you think that your younger self would be proud of where you are today?
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to, so at my age, I probably thought I would have accomplished things at an earlier age. But besides that, I'm on the right path, though. At least I think so.
But I think everything happens for a reason. And I think your destiny is written out for you. And you might have finished college at an earlier age, but there's certain experiences that you gained still doing what you do right now. And you have to remember, like, you're not just in school. You're not just doing real estate. You're doing like 50 other things. How? I don't know how, but it blows my mind every time. Like, you're now doing what with your car? I can never keep up. It's a pleasure to chat with you. I don't do this often.
We talk every day.
They don't know that.
But what was your favorite part about this podcast?
I actually do like the setup of it. I was really nervous at first, but as you get to talking, you become really comfortable with it. And there are certain questions that I asked that I actually didn't know about you.
Like what?
And like, just some of your answers caught me off guard in a good way.
Okay.
Yeah. What was your favorite part about the podcast?
It's just remembering all the stuff that we used to do.
Yeah, it takes you back
And
to your childhood.
Where we came from. It's always good to remember where you came from.
Never ever forget that.
Yeah. A lot of people, especially in today's generation, they say the past is irrelevant. That's why so many of them are
The
lost.
past builds who you are today.
Yep. You have to know where you came from to know where you're going.
God always gives you a greater story to start off with, because he says that if you're blessed with certain riches and wealth, you should have a story that always humbles you to bring you back to where you started from.
I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I do apologize for being so nervous. First podcast, but I promise it will get better every podcast from here on out. But just subscribe if you guys are interested. We'll always be giving out tips and information, whatever could help you or benefit you guys.
Yeah, and if you want to see more of the Property Siblings, please share. Let your friends watch the podcast too. Comment. Let us know what you'd like to hear from us about, what conversations we could talk about, how can we help our viewers. And yeah.